What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Stefan, and tonight I'm going to be talking about and celebrating one of the most greatest, lyrical, beloved, realist, and influential rap revolutionaries of all time on his birthday, the late, great Tupac. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself on his musical and birthday celebration throughout the video with me. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. Welcome back to the channel if you're a returning subscriber. Thank you for the daily support and love. I appreciate it so much. So here we go. Happy heavenly birthday to one of the greatest, influential, multi-talented, beloved, historical, disputed, and unapologetic black rap revolutionaries of all time, the late great Tupac Shakur. When it comes to Pac, he is widely considered one of the most influential rappers of all time. He is among the best-selling artists, having sold more than 75 million records worldwide. Much of his music has been noted for addressing temporary social issues that plague inner cities, and he is considered a symbol of activism against inequality. While Tupac is mostly famous for his rap career, he also is a gifted actor, poet, and thoughtful while outspoken advocate for the poor and overlooked in America. During his life, he produced an intense amount of work, which included studio albums, major Hollywood feature films, and published works. He is the most prolific in the music industry, selling over 75 million albums. Tupac unapologetic lyrics were relevant, important, and reflect of the hard lives led by many. His music earned attention and respect through a poetic style that embraces street vocabulary while being motivated. Today, Tupac is considered by many to be one of the biggest influence in modern hip-hop. His birthday is a much celebrated day in the hip-hop community. Tupac Shakur exemplifies a hero in the music industry and the lives of many because of his determination and fearlessness. Tupac preservation through all of his hardships showed that a person can overcome the most difficult challenges they may face if they are determined and believe in themselves. Tupac's determination and fearlessness helped him get through all the obstacles, bad habits, and misfortunes. His life is an example where one can be and what they can become regardless of their history and background. Tupac's fearlessness and determination inspire me to persevere through anything I may face in life. I believe that if someone with Tupac's background and history can overcome many tough challenges and eventually become one of the greatest rap artists ever, then I can certainly face my fears and challenges in life to be as successful as possible at whatever I decide to do. No matter the circumstances, rich or poor, there is no excuse for not exceeding at goals. Problems may come up, but one must determine to do what they do to do and not fear anything that comes in their way. A hero possesses fearlessness and determination, and that they must not be afraid of failure or thinking outside the box, and they must have a set goal of what they want to achieve and how they plan to do so. They must never give up until they're successful at reaching their goals. Tupac is an inspirational hero because of his determination and fearlessness. Tupac was determined to do what he wanted since he was younger. He was very confident in himself and believed he could achieve his goals, he said. Everyone is going to know me. Tupac was determined that he would get big and famous. He had that right mindset to become a success. Tupac became the unlikely modern of gangster rap and a tragic symbol of his lifestyle exerted on urban black America. At the offset of his career, it didn't appear that he would emerge as one of the defining rappers of the 90s. He started as a second string rapper and dancer for Digital Underground, joining only as they landed their biggest hit. But in 91, he delivered an acclaimed debut album, Tupacalypse Now, and quickly followed a star-making performance in the urban drama Juice. Over the course of 1 year, his profile rose significantly based as much on his run-ins with the law as his music. By 1994, Tupac rivaled Snoop Dogg as the most controversial figure in rap, spending much time in prison as much as he did in the recording studio. Tupac lived a violent yet but thriving short life. He used raw realities to sell massive amount of albums even after his death. This man was the true voice of the ghetto. It didn't matter what race you are or what neighborhood you're from. His music still relates to today's issues in America. Tupac showed his two selves, the fearless gangster rapper and the introspective poet with a social consciousness style. There were so many words that can describe him. Rapper, actor, activist, thug, poet, revolutionary, visionary. Those are the things that can describe the world's greatest revolutionary that ever lived. Before all that happened, here is a story of one of the greatest revolutionaries of all time. Tupac Shakur was born on June 16, 1971 in Harlem, New York. He was born to parents who were both political activists and Black Panther Party's members. Alice Faye Williams, who is Afeni Shakur, was the daughter of a North Carolina maid and a dropout from high school. She became pregnant with Tupac in 1970 while on bail after being charged with conspired to set off a race war. Afeni was acquitted the following year after successfully defending herself in court, displaying a gift for black representation that her son would inherit. She later changed her name to Afeni Shakur after being active involved in the Black Panther movement. Afeni died in 2016 at the age of 69. His father, Billy Garden, also a Panther, but lost contact with Afeni when Tupac was 5 years old. He wouldn't see his father again until he was 23. Pac said in a later interview, he said, "I thought my father was dead all my life," he told the writer Kevin Powell during an interview with Vibe magazine in 96. "I felt I needed a daddy to show me the ropes, and I didn't have one." They've been active Black Panther Party members in New York in the late 60s and in the early 70s. A month after his birth, his mother was tried in New York as a part of the Panther 21 criminal trial. She was acquitted of all 150 charges. Other members who were involved in the Black Panther Black Liberation Army were convicted of serious crimes and in prison, including his stepfather, To Marin City, who spent 4 years among the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. Marin City were apprehended in 1989 and convicted for a robbery of a Blinks armored truck, during which police officers and a guard were killed. His godfather, Elmer Geronimo Pratt, a high-ranking Black Panther, was convicted of murdering a school teacher during a 1968 robbery. After spending 27 years in prison, his conviction was overturned due to the evidence concealed proved his innocence. He died in 2011. His godmother was a former member of the Black Liberation Army who was convicted of the first-degree murder of a New Jersey state trooper and still wanted by the FBI. The first woman to ever make the list. She believed to be living in Cuba under political. She escaped custody in 1979 after being convicted. He had an older stepbrother named Marin Shakur and a younger half-sister, Sat Shakur. His real name was Leslie Parrish Crooks, but at age 1, he was renamed Tupac Amaru Shakur. After joining the Black Panther Party, his mother changed his first name to Tupac Amaru, a Peruvian revolutionary who was killed by the Spanish. Tupac later took his Serge name from his stepfather. Afeni Shakur explained, "I wanted him to have the name of revolutionary indigenous people in the world. I want him to know he was a part of a world culture and not just a neighborhood." His mother, Afeni, was raising 2 children on her own and was struggling for money. The family moved homes often and sometimes living in shelters. It was difficult finding work. In 1984, his family moved from New York to Baltimore, Maryland. He attended 8th grade and at Roland Park Middle School, then ninth grade at Lawrence Park DeBoer High School. Then he transferred to the Baltimore School for the Arts in the 10th grade, where he studied acting, poetry, jazz, and ballet. He performed in Shakespeare's plays, depicting timeless themes now seen in gang warfare. He would call and as the Mouse King role in the Nutcracker Ballet. When they moved to Baltimore with Tupac enrolled in the Baltimore School of Arts, he at which he felt the freest I ever felt at the Baltimore Baltimore School for the Arts. He met a future actress named Jada Pinkett and became best friends. He stated, "Jada is my heart. She will be my friend for my whole life." And Jada Pinkett said, "He is one of my best friends. He was like a brother. It's beyond friendship for us. It's the type of relationship we had. You only get that once in a lifetime." She will be subject to some of his poems. With his friend Dana Mouse Smith as beatbox, he won competitions as the school's best rapper. Also known for his humor, he would mix with all crowds. He listened to a diverse range of music. Upon connecting with the Baltimore Young Colonists League USA, he dated the daughter of the director of the local chapter of the Communist Party USA. The neighborhood of Baltimore was driven by crime, so the family moved to Marin City, California. In 1988, he moved to Marin City, California, an impoverished community in the San Francisco Bay Area. And nearby Mill Valley, he attended Tepes High School, where he performed in several theater productions. He didn't graduate from high school, but later earned his GED. It was in Marin City that a Feeney succumbed to crack addiction, a drug that her son Tupac would sell on the same streets where his mother bought her supply. Tupac's love for hip-hop would stir him away from a life of crime for a while at least. At 17, in the spring of 1989, he met an older white woman named Leila Steinberg in a park. They struck up a conversation about Winnie Mandela. She would recalled a young man with fan-like lashes, overflowing charisma, and the most infectious laugh. By the time they met, Tupac was obsessive, writing poetry and convinced her, who had no music industry experience, to become his manager. Leila was eventually able to get Tupac in front of music manager Ron Gregg, who secured a gig for him in 1990 as a roadie and dancer for the hip-hop group Digital Underground. He soon stepped up to the mic, making his debut in 1991 on Same Song with soundtrack the Dan Aykroyd comedy Nothing But Trouble. Tupac also appeared on Digital Underground Sons of the P in October that year. After the band's manager Ron Gregory took over, he landed Tupac a deal at Interscope with Interscope Records. There is a lot of killing and drugs. To me, a perfect album talks about the hard stuff and the fun and caring stuff. The thing that bothers me is that it seems like a lot of the sensitivity that I write goes unnoticed. On November 12, 1991, he released his debut album, To Pacalypse Now. The album tackled issues of society such as racism, police brutality, poverty, and teenage pregnancy. The album title is a blend of Tupac's name and the 1979 film Apocalypse Now. The album was supported by the singles Trap, Brenda's Got a Baby, and If My Homies Call. Tupacalypse Now is a socially conscious album. It serves Tupac's commentary on issues that plague American society, including police brutality, gang violence, black-on-black crime, teenage pregnancy, and racism. The album poetically addresses black urban concerns relevant to the present day. Although a relatively tame album compared to his later works, Tupacalypse Now is known for its violent lyrics aimed at police officers and the government. As far as the content goes, this is easily Pac's most political influence album. From the opener single Young Black Male, the listener can tell how Tupac felt about the circumstances facing his people in 1991. The rest of the album follow an aggressive poetic style. Although this approach to the industry wasn't the one that gave him a jump start like the heavy radio songs during his competition during that era, it did hold truth and left a mark on those who heard it. The lack of commercial success of this album came from its lack of true radio single. The first single released from the album was Trap, which featured the late great Shock G. Trap is the solo debut single from Tupac from his debut album. It deals with police brutality. The first verse tells a story of Tupac being harassed by the police, with one even shooting at him. He then fires back and says he did it because he was tired of constantly being profiled and abused by police officers. The second single from the album was Brenda's Got a Baby. The single, which featured R&B singer Dave Hollister singing background vocals. The song was about Brenda's Got a Baby, draws from the plight of the impoverished, using Brenda to represent young mothers in general. He criticized the low level of support from the baby's father, the governor, and society in general. He wrote this song while filming the feature film Juice after reading a newspaper article about a 12-year-old girl who becomes pregnant by her cousin and throwing the baby into a trash compactor. The verse began with Tupac telling the group that he heard about Brenda's pregnancy. He also notes that she has virtually no education, calling this a damn shame because she has little hope of a future. Her family is very poor. Her father is a drug addict. Brenda is impregnated by her unnamed boyfriend, who was also her cousin, but she successfully able to hide a pregnancy. Tupac explained that her family wouldn't care if she gave birth as long as they got their cut off the government assistance. Although she believed her cousin, her baby father, will stay with her and help raise the child, but he's a child molester and abandons her before she gives birth on the bathroom floor. She throws the baby into a trash heap, but later retrieve it when she hears it crying. Her mother scolds her severely, and Brenda becomes so ashamed of herself that she runs away from home. Now, Brenda is forced to live alone, unsuccessfully seeking employment. Her attempt to sell crack cocaine results in robbery, so eventually she views prostitution as her only way to earn money and survive. This life path leads to her getting murdered. The fate of her parents, cousins, and baby are left explained. The final minute of the song consisted of a chorus singing "Don't You Know She Got a Baby" repeatedly. The third and the final single from the album was "If My Homies Call." Tupacalypse Now received generally positive reviews from the critics and was certified gold. The album generally significantly controversy stemming from the then U.S. Vice President Don Quaylen at the public criticism after Ryan Howard murdered a Texas state trooper, and his defense attorney claimed he was influenced by Tupacalypse Now in the strong theme of police brutality. He made the statement saying there is no reason for this record like this to be released. It has no place in our society. On October 17th, 1991, a month before the release of his debut album, Tupac was brutally assaulted and harassed by two police officers for jaywalking across the street. He asked why it took two police officers to stop him for jaywalking. After all, had a high rate of serious crime, jaywalking didn't seem like that big of a deal. Finally, Tupac lost his temper and swore at the officers. They put him in a chokehold and knocked him out to the sidewalk. I woke up cuffed with my face in the gutter with a gang of people watching me like I was a criminal, he recalled. Tupac spent 7 hours in jail before the police released him. He missed the debut of his video on a popular hip-hop TV show, Yo MTV Raps. On November 13, 1991, Tupac filed a $10 million civil suit against the Oakland Police Department, allegedly they brutally beat him for jaywalking. Tupac received an approximately $43,000 in settlement money, much of which went to pay his lawyer. On October 17th, on January 17th, 1992, the Hood classic Juice premiered. It was directed by Ernest R. Dickerson. It starred Omar Epps, Tupac Shakur, Jermaine Hawkins, and Khalil Kane. The film touches on the lives of four black youths growing up in Harlem, following their day-to-day activities, their struggles with police harassment, rival neighborhood gangs, and their family. The film is the writing and the debut directing debut of Mr. Dickinson and featured Pac in his acting debut. The film was shot in New York City, mainly in the Harlem area in 1991. He plays the fictional Roland Bishop, a militant and hunting individual. He was the film's most magnetic figure. I wanted to rap about things that affected young black males. When I said that, I didn't know that I was going to tie myself down to take all the blunts and the hits for all the young black males to be the media kicking posts for young black males. On February 16th, 1993, he released his sophomore album, Strictly for My Niggas. Similar to his debut, To Pacalypse Now, the album contained many tracks emphasizing Tupac's political and social views. The original album was going to be named Troublesome 21 and released in September of 92, but it was scrapped due to being rejected by Time Warner. Many of these tracks still remain unreleased, while Keep Your Head Up, I Get Around, Strictly for My Niggas, The Streets Are Death Row, and Soldier's Revenge were utilized for the new track listing. Debuting at number 24 on the Billboard 200, this album saw more commercial success than the debut, and there was notable differences in production. While Tupac's first effort included a more underground or more indie rap oriented sound, this album was considered his breakout album. It spawned the hits Keep Your Head Up and I Get Around. Strictly for My Niggas debuted at number 24 on the Billboard 200 and number 4 on the U.S. top R&B/hip hop album, selling 38,000 units in its first week. The album was certified platinum in 1993. He starred alongside Janet Jackson in the John Singleton hood classic Poetic Justice. The film premiered on July 23rd, 1993. It was directed by the late great John Singleton. The film starred Janet Jackson and Tupac Shakur, with Regina King and Joe Torre starring as and returning roles. She played a poet named Justice, who's a young woman living in South Central Los Angeles, named after her late mother, who gave birth to her while attending law school. While mourning the loss of her boyfriend Markel, who was played by Q-Tip and was killed, she becomes deeply depressed, spending most of her time in her house with her cat White Boy, in the same house she inherited from her grandmother, and only going out to her job at a local hair salon. A talented poet, Justice reads many of her poems throughout the film, both to other characters and voiceover. One day, when she was working at the salon, a young postal clerk named Lucky, who was played by the late great Tupac Shakur, arrived and began flirting with her. Her and her female boss Jessie rebuffed his offense, pretending to be lesbians, mocking Lucky with their relationship. Lucky has also suffered tragedy in his life. His main focus is caring for his young daughter Keisha, who he had forcibly removed from the care of her crack addiction mother. Her friend Aisha, who was played by Regina King, managed to talk Justice into taking a road trip to Oakland when Aisha's boyfriend, Chicago, who was played by Joe Carey, and Lucky's co-worker at the post office, Justice Worry accepts, mainly because she got to go to Oakland for a hair show and our car stopped working at the last minute. Be known to Justice, Lucky is also on a trip, and now she will be sharing a postal van with him and they two mutual friends. Initially, they argue, but they soften towards each other as they gradually discovered their similarities behind the scene. There were numerous rumors about a supposed love scene between Janet and Tupac. Janet said in an interview, Tupac said things were going fine and on set until he was approached in a trailer by a member of the film crew to take an AIDS test in order to participate in a love scene with Janet. He said, "I don't know if it was Janet that it came from all of a sudden, but all of a sudden, out of the blue, they wanted me to take an AIDS test for this love scene, and I didn't disagree. If we was really going to make love," he said in an interview after filming Rap, he said, if I can make love with Janet Jackson, I take 4 AIDS tests. But if I'm going to do a love scene with her just like somebody else did and they didn't take a test, I'm not taking the test. Not only am I taking the test, but get out of my trailer. After the conversation, he explained that 4 more people on the crew approached him in an attempt to sway his decision. After refusing, Tupac says the love scene was scrapped overall and they settled for an on-screen test. Despite the uncomfortable request, he maintained that him and Janet remained friendly during filming. According to him, she gave him his number to remain in contact. Tupac revealed in the same interview that when he dialed the number, it was no longer in service. The film received mixed reviews from critics who criticized the screenplay but praised Janet and Pac's performances and chemistry. It reached number 1 on the box office in the opening weekend. Pac is on top of the world. Poetic Justice is a cult classic, a successful film at that time. Strictly for My N.I.G.A.Z is a platinum album. He also has 2 mega hit singles and friendships in place with so many big names in the business, including a young, influential future upcoming MC straight out of Brooklyn, which was Biggie. Though he wasn't necessarily the big artist in the world, Tupac was definitely enjoying the spoils of fame, but it began to catch up with him. Slated to star as Sharif in the 1993 Hughes Brothers film Menace to Society, but he was replaced after allegedly assaulting one of the film directors, Alan Hughes. In early 1994, he served 15 days in jail after being found guilty of the assault. The prosecution evidence included a Yo MTV's Rap interview where he boasts that he had beat up the director of Menace to Society. At this time, he began a friendship with a young and upcoming superstar from Brooklyn named Biggie. The story reports that Tupac gave Biggie a Hennessy bottle as a gift. Biggie would crash on Tupac's couch whenever he was in California, and Tupac would always stop by Biggie's neighborhood when he was in New York, and instinctual, they were like any other pair of friends. The potential greatness of their combined talents were also evident. At the 1993 Budweiser Superfest at New York City's Madison Square Garden, they freestyled together. Biggie often turned to Tupac for advice in the business and even asked him to even manage his career. But Tupac didn't mix business with friendship. He was like, nah, stay with Puff. He will make you a star. Yet, in the meantime, his lifestyle was comparatively lavish to Biggie, who hadn't established himself yet. He welcomed Biggie to join his side group, Thug Life, but he would instead form his own side groups, the Junior Mafia, with his Brooklyn friends Lil C's and Little Kim. They had a real good friendship until their 1994 fallout at Quad Studios. On November 31st, 1993, Tupac was charged in the shooting of two off-duty police officers in Atlanta, and also was charged with aggravated assault. Prosecutors ultimately dropped all charges against both parties. On November 18, 1993, Tupac and two other men was arrested for sodomy, sexual abuse, and weapon possession. Pac maintained his innocence throughout the controversy. In 1994, he played a neighborhood thug named Birdie and Above the Rim. Also, his group Thug Life only released his only album, Thug Life Volume 1, on October 11th, 1994. It featured the singles Cradle to the Grave, Pour Out a Little Liquor, and Bury Me a G. The album was certified gold. Things were looking bleak for Pac shortly after the trial begun. For him, on a sexual accusation, Pac began working on more music. No one could understand his mindset and what he was going through. With the work on new music underway, Pac would finish crafting an album that he would consider his gift to the culture, so to speak. Pac wanted to show the world that he truly loved this hip-hop art form, and this was his way of doing so. He would lyrically begin to write much of his lyrics, personal lyrics, putting soul on his wax, and the result will end up being something special. However, Me Against the World was in its finishing stages until the unthinkable would happen. On November 30th, 1994, Tupac was ambushed, robbed, and shot 5 times in the lobby of Quad Studios in Times Square. They said the shooting looked like a setup, smelled like a setup. Later, Tupac publicly blamed Biggie, who was upstairs in a recording session at the time, and helping set up the attack. Biggie, Puff Daddy, and the rest of the Bad Boy camp denied numerous times in their involvement in the shooting. Tupac even mentioned the whole situation in his 1995 interview with Vibe magazine. The next day, he arrived in the Manhattan courtroom awaiting his sentencing, acquitted on 3 accounts of sodomy and their associated gun charges, but convicted on 2 counts of first-degree sexual abuse for forcibly touching a woman's buttocks. He was sentenced to 18 months to 4.5 years in prison by a judge who decried an act of brutal violence against a helpless woman. His lawyer characterized the sentence as out of line with the groping conviction and setting a bail at $3 million is inhuman. He began his prison sentence on sexual abuse inside Clinton's correctional facilities on February 14th, 1995. He also spent a few months recuperating at Rikers Island. While incarcerated, he released his third album, Me Against the World, on March 14th, 1995, drawing lyrical inspiration from his impending prison sentence, troubles with the police, and probably the album described as Tupac's most introspective album and commonly ranks as among the greatest, most influential album. Me Against the World was made to show the hip-hop audience his respect for the art form. Lyrically, he intentionally tried to make the album more personal and reflected than his previous efforts. The musical production on the album was considered by several music critics to be the best of any of his albums up to that point in his career. Released while Tupac was in prison, Me Against the World made an immediately impact on the charts, debuting at number 1 on the Billboard 200, holding the top spot for 4 weeks straight, and top R&B hip hop album chart. Dear Mama was released as the album's first single in 1995 and would be the album's most successful single, topping the hot rap single chart, peaking at number 9 on Billboard's Hot 100. While Tupac was in prison, the album overtook Bruce Springsteen's Greatest Hits as the current best-selling album of the year in the United States. Me Against the World was eventually certified double platinum, and at the 38 Grammys Award, the album was nominated for Best Rap Album, and Dear Mama was nominated for Best Rap Solo Performance. The album would receive acclaimed reviews by critics, being ranked as among the best albums of the 1990s. It has been ranked as by many critics as one of the greatest hip-hop albums, as well as one of the greatest albums of all time. It contained the classics So Many Tears, Dear Mama, and Temptations. While incarcerated, he also married his then girlfriend, Keisha Morris, in 1995, but the marriage was later annulled months later. Suge Knight visited him in prison twice until in October of 95 and posted $1.4 million bail. He returned to Los Angeles and joined death row with the appeal of his December 1994 conviction pending. This was part of an agreement between Suge and Pac, which stated he would make 3 albums under Death Row Records in return for them paying his bill. Fulfilling his brand new contract, this double album served as the first two albums of this 3-album contract. Selling his soul to the Death Row label, Tupac was soon set to work on his fourth studio album, a double LP which embraced Death Row gangster image while celebrating the West Coast party lifestyle. On February 13th, 1996, he released his fourth album, All Eyez On Me, on Death Row Records. His second album to hit number one on both the top R&B and hip hop album charts and the pop charts 200, Billboard 200. It also sold 566,000 copies in its first week, and it was certified multi-platinum. It was rap's first double album, meeting two of the 3 albums due in his contract with Death Row, and boarded 5 hit singles: California Love, America's Most Wanted, I Ain't Mad at You, and How Do You Want It. The album showed him rapping about the gangster lifestyle, leaving behind his previous political messages. With standout production, the album has more party tracks and often a triumphant tone. This was the last album he recorded during his lifetime. During the last few months of his life, he released the greatest and most venomous diss track of all time with Hit 'Em Up. The pro-king claimed Bad Boy Killer threatened violent payback on all things Bad Boy, Biggie, Puffy, Junior Mafia, The Company, and on any in New York rap scene like rap duo Mobb Deep. On the night of September 7th, 1996, he was in Las Vegas, Nevada to celebrate his business partner's birthday and attended the Bruce Seldon vs. Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand. Afterwards, in the lobby, someone in a group spotted a Southside Compton Crip named Orlando Anderson, who the individual accused of having recently tried to snatch his neck chain with a Death Row Records medallion in a shopping mall. The hotel surveillance footage showed the ensuing assault on him. Pac soon stopped by his hotel, then head with Suge Knight to his Death Row nightclub, Club 662, and a black BMW 750 IL sedan, a part of a large convoy. About 11:15 p.m. at a stoplight, a white 4-door late model Cadillac sedan pulled up on the passenger side, and an occupant rapidly fired multiple shots into the car. He was struck 4 times, once in the arm, once in the thigh, and twice in the chest, with 1 bullet entering his right lung. He was taken to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada when he was heavily sedated and put on life support. He had multiple surgeries to try to save his life and to stop the bleeding, and he had his right lung removed. In the intense care unit on the afternoon of September 13th, 1996, he was pronounced dead at 4:03 p.m. The official cause of death of respiratory failure, and cardiac arrest associated with multiple gunshot wounds. At the time of his death, a fifth and final studio album was already finished, The 7-Day Theory, under the name Makaveli. It also been recorded in 1 week in August of '96 and released that year. The lyrics were written and recorded in 3 days, and mixing took another 4 days. Was released on November 5th, 1996, almost 2 months after his death, and released through Death Row Records. It is his only album released under a new stage name, Makaveli, and it's the last To Pac album released with his creative input. The album peaked at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling 664,000 copies in its first week, and certified multi-platinum, and one of the greatest rap classics ever. Even in his love life, Pac was known for being with a lot of women, but Kidada Jones, the daughter of world famous Grammy nominated winner Quincy Jones, happens to stay with Tupac and dating for quite some time now. It's still a long-standing rumor that they were engaged at the time of his death. Their relationship got off to a rocky start. The rapper criticized Quincy Jones in an interview with Source magazine, where he spoke of Quincy's interracial relationship and having mixed race children. Actually, that grossly undersells what happened. Pac, in his typical blunt fashion, was quoted as saying, all he does is stick his dick in white bitches and make fuck up kids. Kidada's sister Rashida slammed Pac in an article calling into question his moral compass and shaming the rapper for having lack of respect for someone as legendary as Quincy. Years later, Tupac apologized to both. Kidada was one of the last people to see him before he died. Following his tragic passing, 3 films were released. Bullet in 1996, and in 1997, the films Gridlock and Game Related was released. Among the 5 more albums that has been released included Are You Still Down, Remember Me in 1997, Still I Rise with the Outlaws in 99, Until the End of Time 2001, Better Days 2002, Loyal to the Game 2004, Pac Life in 2006. Also, there have been numerous Tupac documentaries, included the Academy Award nominated Tupac Resurrection in 2003. Also, the biographical drama All Eyez On Me dropped in 2017 on his 46th birthday. Even today, his influence is still relevant and spread wide around the world. He made you feel like you knew him. I think, honestly, Tupac was the greatest songwriter that ever lived. He made it seem so easy. The emotion was there, the feeling, and everything he was trying to describe. You saw a picture that he was trying to paint with every word that he was saying. He used his music and other notable skills to address social issues hindering people of color from achieving success. Like, despite his tremendous effort and profound impact on the black community, people often categorize Tupac as a gangster who glorifies the thug lifestyle, but to characterize him as such is a false representation of what he really stood for. Tupac used a thug-like image to market himself and to connect with younger African-American males. The moral justification of the marketing scheme is controversial and up for debate, but the infamous image contributed largely due to his commercial success. Regardless of the ethnicity validity of the image, Tupac represented the conflict nature of a black man and fought passionately to bring awareness to the issues plaguing Black America. He struggled with finding himself and with intentional conflicts with police arrests and court trials, but his musical ability to be emotional vulnerable made him more relatable and beloved. Tupac Shakur lived with a strong sense of purpose, challenging many individuals to think outside the box and develop solutions that obtain posterity to the hood environment. He fearlessly spoke against social injustices and proposed that people aspire to be an engineer, a doctor, scientist, or whatever for the overall betterment of the community. Even in his death, Tupac's spirit still lives on through millions of people he connected with, and his legacy still continue to inspire individuals to strive for greatness. Tupac is often categorized as a musical and social icon who took action into making more and better spaces for the black community to uplift themselves. His music was the vanguard of a movement that preceded his untimely death and left for a tremendous legacy on the world of hip-hop today. Even though his lyrics is decades old, they still hold relevance today and highlights the struggle of the black community. His commentary through interviews on social justice prevails current discussions on today's police brutality and systematic racism. Tupac point out the cycle that is created when a community of people is neglected, and how they start to analyze those negative messages. His social commentary on the experience of seeing his community struggle due to many factors is what ties together his songs like Unconditional Love, Brenda Got a Baby, and Dear Mama. When it comes to the rhymes and the rhythm of hip-hop, Tupac gifted the world with his lyricism and social commentary, challenging norms within the music industry. He paved the way for artists today. Although he's no longer with us today, the myth of Tupac the Thug Angel remains. No other artist better illuminates hip-hop's fault lines between regional pride and mainstream success, and the struggle to transcend and elevate beyond humble origins while honoring the streets that raised you. His wayward, conflicted expressions of pop, pride, militant, and gangsterism resonate in a world where Black men and women celebrate their heritage and collectively organize against a racist America, but yet are also cautious to protect themselves from each other. As a lifetime fan of Pac and as a young black man, Tupac always been my number one favorite black hero and rap revolutionary. Like every other black young leader, they make mistakes and owned up to it. He truly inspired me to be more socially conscious and take my craft more seriously. The one thing that I always loved about Tupac, other than his timeless music, was his dedication and his love for black people. To us, he was our voice for the ghetto and leader who spoke from his heart and was unapologetic. It didn't matter what race you are or neighborhood you from. His words and presence were powerful, whether you agreed or disagreed with him. There was no debate that when you watch his interviews and the words that he was saying had so much meaning and power. To me, it's very disrespectful what I see today, where I see this new garbage generation of rap comparing themselves to the world's greatest poet of all time, and they know damn well they garbage. He had a deep and profound love for his people and a deep sensitivity for the oppression and pain they were going through, and it reflected in his music. Coming of age as a Black Panther played a significant role in his development, as he was nurtured under the guidance of some of the progression activists that taught him they self-determined ways. As he matured into adulthood, he infused many of those elements into his music. Tupac is loved and very much missed. I think he would have been an inspiring leader in the movement. By him being a star already, that would put him in a position to do so. He would have been those person that they would call the Messiah. Once he tallied up his experiences, I often think about how Tupac might relate to the modern political and social movements, including the Black Lives Matter movement and the Say Her Name movement, to raise awareness for black women who are victims of anti-black violence. A hero is a person who show their character through honesty and courage. They need to express their honest opinions and stand up for others. Tupac sold many albums and wrote so many songs, but most people don't realize the meaning behind those songs. Tupac is a hero not because how rich he was or the many numbers of albums he sold. Honestly, and courage is what makes Tupac Shakur a hero. As a person, Tupac was never afraid to be who he was, with the fame or not. His lyrics were always explicit, as he will always write about the observations he has seen throughout his life. Throughout the positive and the negative criticism, critics failed to realize his music contained two sides. A tough side, brilliant with the realities of the ghetto life, and a side endured with positive messages. Throughout the music community, Tupac is well respected for all the courage he has shown in person as well in his music. He helped motivate countless numbers of people to become better versions of themselves. Before I end this birthday celebration to my hero, I want to say what Tupac meant to me as a black man. As a lifetime fan, as a young black man, Tupac always been my number one favorite rap revolutionary and black hero. To us, he was the voice of the ghetto and a leader who spoke from his heart and was unapologetic. It didn't matter if you were what race you were or what neighborhood you're from. His words had meaning, and his presence was powerful, whether you disagree with him or not. There was no debate when you watch his interviews and you listen to the words that he said, saying it had so much meaning and power. Tupac was an inspiration and an influencer to many people because the honesty and the courage he put in his songs and actions, which led him to impacting the musical culture in today's age and musical culture. And who knows what the rap game will be like without him. Tupac is definitely a hero to me because as someone who grew up in a rougher area, it's oddly weird to accumulate how he was about the rougher lifestyle in his music. In conclusion, Tupac created music as well as his brave actions are what makes him a hero to me as well as others throughout the whole world. Even though he been deceased for more than 26 years, his star shine brighter than ever. It helped that Tupac was a prolific and timeless worker. Perhaps he was aware that his time on Earth was short, but he produced enough material to fuel more albums. Down in the prime of his career, his life forever be an open question of what else might have been. As much as he was viewed as a troublemaker, he was very insightful and very thought-provoking. He would speak about issues in the community. He turned thug life into something meaningful and inspiring to young black men and women, eventually to the rest of the world. When he passed, it felt like almost the same lines as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Gone too soon, gone for a reason, because he had something to say. His words impacted the world in a way. Scores of books and documents detailed his life, career, and tragic death, while musicians continue to pay tributes in their music to his influence in their music. He sold more than 75 million albums worldwide. In 2017, he was inducted into the Hollywood Rock of Fame. At 25 years old, Tupac left an intense resume and tremendous influence that impacted the culture of hip-hop, leaving many to wonder what more could he have accomplished if he was still alive today. Miss Afeni Shakur was the baddest black woman to ever walk the planet. She raised awareness and shifted atmosphere wherever she went. Tupac's brilliance shined brighter than the sun. He lived and moved with create revolutionary fearless passion, fuel, speed of a comet. Tupac and Pac challenged, reimagine, and transform history. R.I.P. to Pac and Miss Afeni Shakur. As a young black man, Tupac made me feel proud to be black and gave the inner city kids a voice. He gave them a hero, someone they all aspire to be. Tupac and his influence made on many rappers become well known throughout interviews, music, and poems. Not only was Pac an inspiration of rappers, he was also a role model for many teenagers and young adults. He was known as a symbol of rap and its violence. More than anything, he was a martyr of this culture. Tupac started the rapid growth of the rap culture throughout many albums, from Trust to Racial Discrimination. Pac spoke passionately about the society that helped him grow as a man, and this was the legacy that made Pac an influential character to the society that we lived in. Tupac crossed the social barriers, color lines, national borders, and cultural divides with his undeniable passion. Tupac Shakur and his incredible music are elements of hip-hop that forever be a stone in the foundation of the African American culture history. Forever the number one greatest of all time. Happy heavenly birthday, Pac. We forever love, appreciate, and miss you so much. Continue to rest peacefully in God's kingdom, King. Tupac forever. Now, it's time for shoutouts. Before I end this birthday tribute, I want to dedicate this video to two of the most dedicated and true Tupac fans that I know, and both are some of my favorite IG supporters. The first dedication go to this gorgeous black queen. Make sure you follow her on her IG page, Chris's Love and Life, and the second one goes to my gorgeous woman crush every day. Make sure you follow her page at Appletrees80 on IG. Also, I want to give major shout outs to some other black queens that's doing their thing. I want to give a shout out to Midnight R&B Rendition. Make sure you follow her page on IG at Midnight R&B Rendition. Kalo with the Jello and play the boombox. My friend May Asia, please follow her on IG at the Goddess Within Me. YouTube, Miss May Asia, my friend Unique on her IG page, Old School 24/7 365. My friend Dee on her channel, Coco T TV, Hilda DC, Ace Eats, Eden with J, The Real Red, Lady Red, ASMR, Just Be, That's Me, Beauty and Beach Journey, Mama McCrazy and them, Thai Eat, Queen Sugar Experience, Steph, DIY Queen, Tam's Table, and MRTV. Please check out these lovely people and their channels out. Also, don't forget to follow my pages on IG at Stephon McCall, where I have a music page where I play nothing but the old school classics and my own page. Follow my Facebook at Stephon McCall also. Please check out the channels in my description box. Thank you for enjoying this musical and birthday celebration with me throughout the video. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. Also, don't forget to turn on your notification for new videos. Like I always say, Let's always celebrate our legends while they still here and always give them their love, flowers, respect, and recognition. Have a good night. Stay safe and blessed. God bless you. I'm out. Peace.